Hello, students. Welcome back to Academic English. So, we were dealing with the lesson The Summer of the Beautiful White Horse, written by William Surian, and we saw that Murad had taken a beautiful white horse to Aram's house, but Aram seemed a little bit confused at the moment because he was not sure where Murad got this horse from. So, he assumed at first that Murad had stolen it from somewhere, and he seemed a little bit confused whether to go on a ride with Murad or not. So we will continue with the lesson. Well, it seemed to me stealing a horse for a ride was not the same thing as stealing something else, such as money. For all I knew, maybe it wasn't stealing at all. If you are crazy about horses, the way my cousin Murad and I were, it wasn't stealing. It wouldn't become stealing until we offered to sell the horse, which of course I knew we would never do. Let me put on some clothes, I said. All right, he said, but hurry. I leaped into my clothes. I jumped down the yard from the window and leaped up onto the horse behind my cousin Murad. So now we know that Aram had an extreme desire to ride the horse, and now we can see that Aram is trying to reinterpret the situation that he is in right now. And we can see that he is redefining the word stealing also. So, according to Aram, the act that Murad had done right now, that is, he had taken the horse from someone, and Aram is telling that I cannot consider this particular act, what Murad had done, as a crime. Why? We'll see. Well, it seemed to me stealing a horse for a ride was not the same thing as stealing something else, such as money. So, Aram is telling that I don't consider this act of Murad as a crime because he has not stolen money from anybody. He had just taken the horse from somebody without the owner's permission. He had taken the horse, and that too for a ride. It is just for a ride that he had taken the horse, and he had not stolen any money from anybody. So I don't consider this act of his as a crime, as a grave crime. For all I knew, maybe it wasn't stealing at all. If you're crazy about horses the way my cousin Murad and I were, it wasn't stealing. It wouldn't become stealing until we offered to sell the horse, which of course I knew we would never do. Now, Adam again says that if Murad had taken the horse without the permission of the owner, and he goes ahead and sells the horse to somebody else, then I will consider that as a crime because he is getting some money by selling the horse. So now, if I consider this particular situation where Murad had taken the horse from somebody without their permission, the permission of the owner, and that too for a ride, it is just to go on a ride. Okay, so in that case, Murad is not a thief. He has not stolen anything. He has just taken it for a ride. So I cannot consider this act of his as stealing. Let me put on some clothes, I said. So what is the decision made by Aram? It is to go ahead with Murad for a ride. So he is dressing up. All right, he said, but hurry. Now Murad is telling, just hurry up and come down, come out of the window. We'll go for a ride. I leaped into my clothes, so he's getting ready. Adam is getting ready. I jumped down to the yard from the window and leaped up onto the house behind my cousin Murad. Now, yard means a house and the land attached. So now Adam is jumping out of the window and he is getting up on the horse. That year, we lived at the edge of the town on Walnut Avenue. Behind our house was the country, vineyards, orchards, irrigation ditches, and country roads. In less than 3 minutes, we were on Olive Avenue, and then the horse began to trot. The air was new and lovely to breathe. The feel of the horse running was wonderful. My cousin Murad, who was considered one of the craziest members of our family, began to sing. He began to roar. Now, Aram is mentioning the place in which they live right now. It is at the edge of the town on Walnut Avenue. So that is the place where Aram lives. Behind our house was the country. What do you mean by behind our house was the country? That means they are not living in a city, but they are living in a countryside. And what about the place, the countryside in which they live? What all are there? Vineyards, orchards, irrigation ditches, and country roads. Now, what is a vineyard? As you can see here in the picture, this is a vineyard. That means it is an area of land where grapevines are being cultivated. And orchards, it's a piece of enclosed land planted with fruit trees. Now, it is a place or a land where fruit trees are cultivated. Now, irrigation ditch is a ditch that is artificially created in order to supply water to a dry area of land. As you can see here in the picture, this is an irrigation ditch. It supplies water to this particular dry area of land where things are being cultivated, crops are being cultivated. And country roads. In less than 3 minutes, we were on Olive Avenue, and then the horse began to trot. So, as they were reaching the place Olive Avenue, the horse began to trot. Trot means to pace up. That means to move a little bit faster than it was walking earlier. The air was new and lovely to breathe. The feel of the horse running was wonderful. Now, these two boys are enjoying the ride to the maximum. So, it felt so lovely to ride on the horse. So, it was wonderful, Aram says, the ride. My cousin Mourad, who was considered one of the craziest members of our family, began to sing. I mean, he began to roar. So it was not a pleasant singing that Mourad is doing right now. Aram doesn't enjoy the song that is being sung by Mourad, but still he enjoys the ride. Okay, so both boys seem to enjoy the ride to the maximum. Every family has a crazy streak in it somewhere, and my cousin Murad was considered the natural descendant of the crazy streak in our tribe. Before him was our Uncle Khusru, an enormous man with a powerful head of black hair and the largest mustache in the San Joaquin Valley, a man so furious in temper, so irritable, so impatient that he stopped anyone from talking by roaring. It is no harm, pay no attention to it. So Adam says here that every family has a crazy streak in it. What do I mean by crazy streak? That means an unpleasant characteristic. So every family has got a crazy characteristic in it, and one person from each and every family acquires this particular characteristic that is existing in the family. And who has acquired the crazy characteristic in Garohlanian family? It is Murad who has acquired the crazy streak in existing in Garohlanian family. Before him was our Uncle Khosrow. Now, in the previous generation, before him means before Murad, that means in the previous generation was our Uncle Khosrow. So, it was Aram's Uncle Khosrow who had acquired the crazy streak that was present in Garohlanian family in the previous generation. And what sort of a man is Khosrow? An enormous man. Enormous means huge, strongly built man with a powerful head of black hair. So he has got black hair on his head and the largest mustache in the San Joaquin Valley. Now, San Joaquin Valley is a valley in California, and a man so furious in temper. So this man is supposed to have the largest mustache in that particular area, and this man was so furious in temper. He used to get angry always. So irritable. Irritable means one who gets angry or annoyed easily. So he got irritated for silly matters, so impatient that he stopped anyone from talking by roaring. Now, this man Khosrow never liked others talking, so he got impatient every time when others start talking. So he used to stop others by talking from talking by saying this line, particular line, that is, it is no harm, pay no attention to it. So this is supposed to be the tagline of Khosrow. He used to repeat it often whenever others started talking. That was all. No matter what anybody happened to be talking about, once it was his own son Eric running 8 blocks to the barber shop where his father was having his mustache trimmed to tell him their house was on fire. This man Khusro sat up in the chair and roared, It is no harm. Pay no attention to it. The Baba said, but the boy says your house is on fire. So Khosrow wrote, enough, it is no harm, I say. So now, here, Aram is giving an example to prove how much crazy this man Khosrow is. Arak is Uncle Khosrow's son, and once it so happened that Arak was running 8 blocks. Block is used as an informal unit of distance here. And Arak was seen running very fast towards a barber shop. And someone was sitting inside the barber shop, and it was Uncle Khosrow. He wanted to get his mustache trimmed, and that is why he was in the barber shop. And at this particular time, Arak came to the barber shop, and he started telling his father, Father, our house is set on fire. And how did Khosrow react to it? See, he is treating it as a silly matter. He doesn't want Arak to talk to him. So he is so irritable, and he started telling him, it is no harm, pay no attention to it. So this is supposed to be the tagline of Uncle Khosrow. He keeps on telling or repeating this particular line again and again whenever we see others talking to him. The Baba said, but the boy says your house is on fire. So the barber is clarifying. So you don't understand the matter? The boy is telling you that your house is set on fire. So you have to do something immediately. So Khosrow wrote, enough. It is no harm, I say. So just keep quiet. I don't want you to talk. That is the reaction of Uncle Khosrow. My cousin Murad was considered the natural descendant of this man, although Murad's father was Arab who was practical and nothing else. This is how it was in our tribe. A man could be the father of his son's flesh, but that did not mean that he was also the father of his spirit. The distribution of the various kinds of spirit of our tribe had been from the beginning capricious and vagrant. My cousin Murad was considered the natural descendant of this man, although Murad's father was Arab who was practical and nothing else. So here Aram says that Murad's father is Zurab, and he was a very practical minded person. He was not crazy. And where did Murad acquire this crazy characteristic from? It was from this man, that is Uncle Khosrow. So Murad acquired the crazy characteristic from Uncle Khosrow and not from his father. That is how it was in our tribe. A man could be the father of his son's flesh. What do I mean by a man could be the father of his son's flesh? That means the father and the son can look alike. In appearance, they can be similar, but that did not mean that he was also the father of his spirit. That means spirit means characteristic or behavior patterns. So the father and the son may look alike, but they won't be sharing the same character or the behavior patterns. Okay, so now the behavior patterns of the father and the son will be different. So that is, it is just like that in our tribe. The distribution of the various kinds of spirit in our tribe had been from the beginning capricious and vagrant. Capricious means likely to change frequently. That means it is viable to change. So distribution of the various kinds of spirit, that means the characteristic or the behavior patterns in our tribe will be distributed just like this. So it is inconstant. Vagrant means it is inconstant. It is flexible. It is changeable. It is viable to change. We rode, and my cousin Murad sang. For all anybody knew, we were still in the old country, where at least according to some of our neighbors we belonged. We let the horse run as long as it felt like running. At last, my cousin Murad said, Get down, I want to ride alone. Will you let me ride alone? I asked. That is up to the horse, my cousin said. Get down. The horse will let me ride, I said. We rode, and my cousin Murad sang. That means the boys are enjoying this ride to the maximum. For all anybody knew, we were still in the old country, where at least according to some of our neighbors we belonged now. Old country means homeland. For all anybody knew, we were still in the old country. That means for those people who knew us, we are still in our old country or in our homeland. Old country means homeland. So for those who knew us, we are still in our old country, in our homeland, in our home, sleeping. because it was early in the morning when they left their home, and they didn't tell anybody that they are leaving their home for a ride on the horse. So everybody believes that they are still in bed. We let the horse run as long as it felt like running. So they are not trying to control the horse, and the horse is just running as it wants. At last, my cousin Murad said, "Get down, I want to ride alone." So now Murad told Aram that I want to ride alone. So you got to get down. "Will you let me ride alone?" I asked. So now Aram is being inquisitive. He's asking, "See, will you let me ride alone just like how you are going to do now?" "That is up to the horse," my cousin said. "Get down." So let the horse decide. That is the answer that is given by Murad. So if the horse lets you ride on it alone, then it is okay. So you can go on a ride alone. But if the horse doesn't let you to ride on it alone, then you cannot go. "The horse will let me ride," I said. So Aram is telling, "No, the horse, I know, I'm very sure that the horse will let me ride on it. I'm sure about that." "We shall see," he said. "Don't forget that I have a way with a horse." "Well," I said, "any way you have with the horse, I also have." "For the sake of your safety," he said, "let us hope so. Get down." "All right," I said, "but remember, you've got to let me try to ride alone." "We shall see," he said. "Don't forget that I have a way with a horse." What do you mean by having a way with somebody, like a horse or somebody, to be able to deal with someone? Okay, so Murad is telling, I know how to handle or how to deal with horses. So that is why I am able to ride on it alone. So we will see whether the horse let you ride alone or not. That is what Murad says. "Well," I said, "anyway you have with the horse, I also have." So Murad, if you have a way with the horse, then if you know how to deal with the horse, I also know how to deal with the horse. That is what Aram says. "For the sake of your safety," he said, "let us hope so." So now if you have a way with the horse, and if you know how to deal with the horse, that is good for you. It is for your own safety. It is good for your own safety. Let us hope that you have a way with the horse. So now what I want you to do is get down the horse. Then only I can ride alone, Murad is telling. "All right," I said, "but remember, you have got to let me try to ride alone." So now Adam is insisting, see, after you complete riding on the horse alone, then please let me try to ride alone. That is what Adam is asking. I got down, and my cousin Murad kicked his heels into the horse and shouted, "Wazir, run!" The horse stood on its hind legs, snorted, and burst into a fury of speed that was the loveliest thing I had ever seen. My cousin Murad raced the horse across a field of dry grass to an irrigation ditch, crossed the ditch on the horse, and 5 minutes later returned dripping wet. The sun was coming up. "Now it is my turn to ride," I said. My cousin Murad got off the horse. "Ride," he said. I leaped to the back of the horse and for a moment knew the most awful fear imaginable. The horse did not move. Now Adam is getting down the horse and Murad is going to ride on the horse alone. I got down and my cousin Murad kicked his heels into the horse, and this is the way how you ask the horse to start running. You have to kick your heels into the horse, muscles of the horse, and now Murad is shouting, "Wazir, run!" Wazir means that's the name of the horse. The horse stood on its hind legs. Hind legs means back legs. It is standing on its back legs, ready to run. Snorted. Snorted means it's a kind of noise that the horse makes when it gets excited or frightened. And burst into a fury of speed that was the loveliest thing that I had ever seen. So here Murad is making a perfect ride, and the horse is also obeying Murad because it likes Murad. My cousin Murad raced the horse across a field of dry grass to an irrigation ditch, crossed the ditch on the horse, and 5 minutes later returned dripping wet. So now Murad makes a perfect ride. First, he goes on the horse across a field of dry grass, then he goes to an irrigation ditch, crosses it, okay, and when they cross the irrigation ditch, definitely there will be water, and they splashed water, and water has been splashed on Murad as well as the hose when they were trying to cross the irrigation ditch, and that is why 5 minutes later when they returned they were dripping wet. The sun was coming up, so it was going to be morning. Now it is my turn to ride, I said. So now Aram is demanding and he's asking Murad, I want to ride on the horse alone, just like how you did. My cousin Murad got off the horse. So now Murad is getting down the horse and he's asking, he's not advising anything, he's not giving any advices to Aram, he's not being considerate there, he's just giving a command. Ride, he said. So if you want to ride, just ride. Okay, I'm not going to help you. I leaped to the back of the horse and for a moment knew the most awful fear imaginable. The horse did not move. So Aram is climbing on the top of the horse and he asked the horse to ride or run, but the horse is not obeying. The horse didn't move. Kick into his muscles, my cousin Murad said. What are you waiting for? We've got to take him back before everybody in the world is up and about. I kicked into the muscles of the horse. Once again, it reared and snorted. Then it began to run. I didn't know what to do. Instead of running across the field to the irrigation ditch, the horse ran down the road to the vineyard of Decrenhalabian, where it began to leap over vines. The horse leaped over 7 vines before I fell. Then it continued running. Now Adam is confused what to do. So now Murad is giving instructions on how to ride. Kick into his muscles, my cousin Murad is telling, okay? And what are you waiting for? So he's getting angry and irritated. Who? Murad. So what are you waiting for? We have to take the horse back before everybody wakes up. That is what Murad is telling. So now Adam is following the instruction given by Murad. I kicked into the muscles of the horse. Once again, it reared. Reared means to raise itself upright on its hind legs. Okay, just like how this horse is standing on its hind legs. Okay, so it is about to run. Okay, when Aram kicked into the muscles of the horse as told by Murad and snorted. Then it began to run. So now the horse has started running, but there is a problem and Adam is having a difficult time. Why? I didn't know what to do. Instead of running across the field to the irrigation ditch, the horse ran down the road to the vineyard of Dikran Halabian. So now what was Adam intending to do? Adam was intending to go in the same path where Murad went on the horse, like straight to the field and then back to the irrigation ditch and then it will come back. So he was imagining such sort of a smooth journey, but right now he's not having a smooth journey on the horse. And instead of going to the field, the horse is running to the vineyard of Dikran Halabian. Okay, so definitely it is going to leap over vines. And when it leapt over vines, who fell down? Aram fell down. So it leaped over 7 vines and maybe Aram got entangled in the vines. It is a creeper, right? The vines are creepers. So Aram might maybe he got entangled in the vines and then he fell down. So and then it continued running. The horse, it didn't stop. It was running even after Aram fell down. My cousin Murad came running down the road. I'm not worried about you, he shouted. We've got to get that horse. You go this way and I'll go this way. If you come upon him, be kindly. I'll be near. I continued down the road and my cousin Murad went across the field to the irrigation ditch. It took him half an hour to find the horse and bring him back. All right, he said, jump on. The whole world is awake now. My cousin Murad came running down the road. I'm not worried about you, he shouted. We have got to get that horse. So even after Adam had fallen down from the horse back, now Murad says that he's not worried about Adam. What he's worried about is the horse instead. So he's telling Adam, we have to find that horse out at any cost. I continued down the road and my cousin Murad went across the field towards the irrigation ditch. So both Murad and Adam are searching for the horse. It took him half an hour to find the horse and bring him back. So Murad found the horse after searching for half an hour, and now Mourad is bringing back the horse. All right, he said, jump on. The whole world is awake now. So it is almost morning now. Mourad is telling it is almost morning, and now everybody will wake up. So before that, we have to hide the horse somewhere. What will we do? I said. Well, he said, we'll either take him back or hide him until tomorrow morning. He didn't sound worried, and I knew he would hide him and not take him back. Not for a while, at any rate. Where will we hide him? I said. I know a place, he said. How long ago did you steal this horse? I said. It suddenly dawned on me that he had been taking these early morning rides for some time and had come for me this morning only because he knew how much I longed to ride. Now, Aram is becoming inquisitive and he's asking certain questions to Murad. What will we do? I said. So he's asking, Adam is asking, see, what are we going to do with the horse now? Well, he said, we'll either take him back or hide him until tomorrow morning. So Murad is telling there are two options. Either we'll go for a ride again today, or we'll hide the horse for today, and tomorrow again we'll take the horse back and go on a ride on it. He didn't sound worried, and I knew he would hide him and not take him back. So Murad was sounding pretty confident about hiding the horse, and Aram was sure that Murad is not going to return the horse back to its owner at any cost, not any time near. Where will we hide him? I said. I know a place, he said. So Adam is again asking, what are we going to do? Where are we going to hide the horse now? So Murad sounds very confident when he says that he knows a place which is perfect for hiding the horse. How long ago did you steal this horse? So here Adam is asking a very unpleasant question. So how long ago did you steal the horse? So he's using the word stealing there. It suddenly dawned on me. Dawn means to become evident or to become clear. It suddenly dawned on me that he had been taking these early morning rides for some time and had come for me this morning only because he knew how much I longed to ride. So now Adam was very much sure that Murad had been keeping this horse for quite some time, and he had been practicing how to ride on the horse for quite some time. And Murad had come to Aram's house on that particular day in the morning. Why? Because Murad knew quite well, very well, that Aram longed to ride. That is why he came to Aram's house that morning. Who said anything about stealing a horse? He said. Anyhow, I said, how long ago did you begin riding every morning? Not until this morning, he said. Are you telling the truth? I said. Of course not, he said. But if we are found out, that is what you are to say. I don't want both of us to be liars. All you know is that we started riding this morning. All right, I said. So now Murad didn't like the question that is being asked by Aram about stealing the horse. Okay, so now Murad is getting a little bit annoyed and irritated. So he's asking, who told you that I have stolen the horse from somewhere? Who said anything about stealing a horse? Anyhow, I said, how long ago did you begin riding every morning? So here we can see that Adam is getting a little bit scared and he's asking or putting the question in another way. He's asking, how long ago did you begin riding every morning or practicing riding on the horse every morning? So Murad is telling, not until this morning. So Murad is telling, I started riding or practicing riding on the horse today morning alone, and I didn't get a chance to practice riding on the horse beforehand. Are you telling the truth? I said. So, is that true? Aram is again being inquisitive. Of course not, he said. So, Murad tells that no, it is all a lie. Of course not, I'm not telling the truth. But if we are found out, that is what you are to say. So now if we are found or if we are caught red-handed with the hose, then you have to say that we got the hose today alone, okay, and we were not practicing riding on the hose before that. Okay, so if we are found out or if we are caught red-handed today, you have to tell others that we have got the hose today morning, and if you are got tomorrow red-handed, then you have to tell others that you have got the horse tomorrow morning alone. So this is what you are supposed to say. All right, I said. So now Aram also is agreeing to whatever Mourad is telling. He walked the horse quietly to the barn of a deserted vineyard, which at one time had been the pride of a farmer named Fedvagian. There were some oats and some dry alfalfa in the barn. We began walking home. It wasn't easy, he said, to get the horse to behave so nicely. At first, it wanted to run wild, but as I've told you, I have a way with a horse. I can get it to want to do anything I want it to do. Horses understand me. Now, Aram and Mourad intends to hide the horse somewhere and they are walking to a barn. So we'll see. He walked the horse quietly to the barn. Barn means it's basically a storage house. Okay, it's a large farm building used to store grain, hay, or straw for housing or for housing livestock. Livestock means you can even put the animals inside this barn. Okay, so that is what is called livestock of a deserted vineyard. So, deserted means it's a lonely place, an empty place, and nobody visits that place. Vineyard, okay, we saw earlier what a vineyard is, which at one time had been the pride of a farmer named Fedvagian. So, at one time, this place or this barn belonged to a farmer named Fedvagian, but nobody is using this barn now. Nobody visits this place. So, this place particularly is very much suitable for hiding the horse. So, that is why Mourad and Aram both are taking the horse to this particular barn. There were some oats and some dry alfalfa. Alfalfa is a herb, as you can see here in the picture. So I've inserted a picture here of alfalfa. There were some oats and some dry alfalfa in the barn. So wild oats and some dry alfalfa for the horse to feed on. We began walking home. So now Aram and Mourad had put the horse in the barn of Fedvagian and now they are walking back home. It wasn't easy, he said, to get the horse to behave so nicely. At first, it wanted to run wild, but as I've told you, I have a way with the horse. So now Mourad is telling, now it was very difficult for me to train the horse or make the horse behave so nicely to me because at first it wanted to run wild. Okay, so just like how you were riding on it at that time, the horse was behaving so wild and it ran wild. So exactly the same thing happened to me also, but you know that I have a way with the horse. That is what Mourad is telling. I understand how to deal with horses. So that is why I was successful in making a perfect ride, Mourad is telling. And I trained the horse quite so well, and that is why now it is behaving so nicely to me. I can get it to want to do anything I want it to do. So Mourad is telling now the horse understand me, and now if I want it to do something, then I know how to make it do what I want it to do. Horses understand me, so I know how to handle horses, and now the horse also understand me. How do you do it? I said. I have an understanding with the horse, he said. Yes, but what sort of an understanding? I said. A simple and honest one, he said. Well, I said, I wish I knew how to reach an understanding like that with a horse. You are still a small boy, he said. When you get to be 13, you'll know how to do it. I went home and had a hearty breakfast. Now, as Adam and Murad are returning back home, they are having a conversation with each other. How do you do it? I said. So now Adam is asking, how did you develop such sort of an understanding or bonding with the host? So now we can see that Murad is giving just blunt answers. He's not giving proper answers or proper replies to the question that is raised by Adam. He's telling, I have an understanding with the host. I know how to deal with horses. That is what Murad is telling. Yes, but what sort of an understanding? I said, a simple and honest one. Well, I said, I wish I knew how to reach an understanding with like that with a horse now. Adam is hoping that one day or someday I'll be able to develop such kind of an understanding with the horse, just like the way that you have. You are still a small boy, he said. When you get to be 13, you will know how to do it. And who is 13 years old? It is Murad. Murad is telling Aram, Aram, you are just a 9-year-old boy. And when you become 13 years old, then you will be able to develop an understanding with the host the way I have. and you'll be able to make a perfect ride on the horse. I went home and ate a hearty breakfast. What do you mean by hearty? It means a large and satisfying breakfast. So now, because Aram was very much happy, why Aram is happy? Because he got a chance to ride on the horse, and he was desiring to ride a horse. He was dreaming about riding a horse for quite some time, and he was successful in making this dream into a reality, and that is why he is having a hearty breakfast. He is satisfied when he ate his breakfast on that particular day, not because it is hearty, it is large and satisfying. We know the Garohilanian tribe is poverty stricken. They cannot afford to make or arrange such a satisfying and large breakfast, because only because Aram is happy that he got a chance to ride on the horse. That is why he says he ate a hearty breakfast. So, with that, we'll wind up part 2 of the Summer of the Beautiful White Horse. Thank you all.